Welcome to SwitchCorner, my name is Alex. Today we're going to be ranking all Persona games available on the Switch. Now I want to hear in the comments, what is your favourite Persona game? Let's see where everyone lands. In this video then as well, towards the end, I'll also cover what Persona games I suspect we will see next on the system. So with that, hit subscribe, join us here for reviews and deals daily, and let's get started. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax may be at the bottom spot today, but I do want to preface this list. I do not believe there is a bad Persona game on the system. In fact, this game, I praised it in my review and featured it on my top fighters list. You'll find both of those in the pinned comment. The thing holding it back for me, it's the way the story is delivered, but then also the series and knowledge required. You know, most Persona games are standalone entries. This one, it is a continuation of 4, and you could argue that having played, Persona 3 Portable as well, it would put you in the best possible position. You definitely don't want to start here as well, that is for sure. You'll not only be lost, but it's naturally packed full of spoilers as well for Persona 4 and Persona 3. I don't even want to say much about the story here, but it's essentially the idea of cast members returning to town following the events of Persona 4 Golden. Topping it off then, I'm just not a massive visual novel fan, and that's essentially what this is, with fights occasionally punctuating the reading. I mainly came here for the action, the quick fight modes, and then slowly chipped away at what is, in the end, a slow burn but still a very good story. My final note on this one then, it is actually an expanded edition of the game, hence the Ultimax in the name, but its setup for its narrative is so strange. You jump into the story mode, it will throw you right to episode P4. That is not where you want to start unless you played the past release of Arena on the PS3 or 360. The order here should go Persona 4 Arena story mode, that's the original narrative, then episode P4, that's the Ultimax content, then episode P3 where the Persona 3 Portable characters, they make their crossover. It's rounded out then with a DLC episode that's been included for free here. Great game still as I said, but definitely more for the veterans, and the story it won't be to everyone's taste. Persona 5 Strikers, and this was better than I ever expected. I got to be honest here as well, I really didn't think they could pull it off. A game known for its depth, storytelling, and turn-based combat, mixed with a series that's mostly known for its satisfying, but let's face it, somewhat brainless button mashing. Well, I'm happy to say they absolutely proved me wrong, combining these elements perfectly. What surprised me the most was the commitment to these characters and what Persona fans would expect to know, and that is lots of dialogue with incredible writing, and they established this immediately. Following a quick tutorial, it was a good couple of hours till you really got to any sort of fight. I think the delivery is where they succeeded though the most. We had, the typical free exploration and conversations, but then if you did connect with a shadow on the map, the enemies in this game, it would turn into an arena style battle where you could go crazy against waves of enemies. It was a satisfying gameplay loop, but with a ton of depth to keep you engaged. I think the biggest compliment I can give this one though, I expected a game that felt like a Warriors experience with Persona characters, much like almost DLC. Instead, I got a Persona game, but now with fast-paced action combat. The reason this is, further down my list than the mainline entries, I just personally prefer the turn-based design. It's the classic, and this is another one where you really need past series knowledge. They advertised it as a spin-off, mainly because it released on some systems, including the Switch, before Persona 5 Royal was available, but really, it is a sequel. It expects you to know characters, and it packs constant references to what occurred in Royal before it, so it's definitely loaded full of spoilers. The main story then as well, we are off on summer vacation battling new enemies that pop up along the journey. You can see my full review in the pinned comments. Persona 3 Portable then, and I think out of the mainline entries on the Switch, it's the hardest one to now recommend. It's extremely easy to see the importance of the entry for the series. For example, it introduced the daily calendar system, a staple of the games now, but it's also quite dated in its delivery. Think here, rather than free exploration, we are using a cursor on screen to navigate locations, and there's no 3D cutscenes at all. This is very much presented almost think like a visual novel. That said though, I know the comment that's going to come up here though, and that is, we gotta port a Persona 3 portable, they should have ported Persona 3 FES instead. Basically, for those that don't know, there were different versions of this game dependent on the system. The one we've got on the Switch was a stripped back version for a handheld system. Now, I've got to admit here as well, I've never played FES myself, but research tells me it did pack in 3D cutscenes, it did have free movement exploration, you know, more in line with 4 and 5, and then there's even a bonus dungeon that acts as an epilogue. Where free portable wins, however, though, is an entire second story with a female lead designed for those that want to play the game twice, and then we can also directly control all party members in battle. The other releases, we only directly control the lead character, and that for me is where portable seems to be the stronger game. You know, that gameplay, for me, it's just essential to my enjoyment of any sort of turn-based RPG. I want that entire party control. My argument with Persona 3 though is basically this: it sounds like we need a true rebuild with elements of FES and portable brought together. The story for 3 then, honestly it is one of the best, but it is very slow to get going, which may put some off. I'd say a good maybe 10 hours or so. The general idea though, we are new to this school and investigating the Dark Hour with a team. Not many know about this, but it's essentially time that exists between days, and it's a massive labyrinth that's basically full of evil that appears, and that is the game's dungeon, Tartarus. Now, unlike the games to follow, this packs this singular dungeon, though it tries to vary things a little bit, X amount of flaws in, but yeah, for the most part, I'd say it rarely changes in visual design, so it's definitely easy to feel that burnout. It is well over 200 floors as well to explore this thing, so you've definitely got to be committed. That said, overall, I still think it's a very good game. I especially actually like a weird thing to comment on, but the animation, the gun to the head summons, that imagery for me has just always embodied Persona. Persona 5 Royal then is no question an incredible game. No doubt it will for many of you be the #1 spot. I absolutely get it. It packs a great cast, the Phantom Thieves led by Joker. It's a culmination of features as well created by entries before it, not a bad thing. It embraces the dark world we've come to expect of a Persona game, but now as well it's even got this incredible style to its design. It's always been working that way, but this one truly delivered on it. As always as well then, it features this incredible soundtrack, and that's another area where Persona in my eyes always wins. I've spent some $600 collecting the different final soundtracks, so I've definitely put my money into, you know, back up that opinion. My review for this one as well is also in the pinned comments. The dungeon design as well are the best in the series. Each feels unique, and the deranged enemies packed in are instantly memorable thanks to the game's ability to tackle challenging subjects. Where this one really succeeds though, it's just the sheer amount of content, especially this royal build, you know, extra story, new characters and personas, even challenges, and a huge amount of cosmetic content as well. That's alongside just kind of general gameplay tweaks. The game's just got so many side activities to it all that it's easy to get into this world and waste away hours never touching that main storyline. Not a good thing, honestly, when you're working to the restriction of the school calendar. I really have no complaints with this one. Honestly, even the performance here, I was nervous going in. There's a lot packed in, and they did an absolutely fantastic job. So with that, no complaints, let's move on to my #1 spots. Persona 4 Golden takes my #1 spot, and while it's easy to identify how Persona 5 Royal improved in so many areas, for me it really comes down to one factor here, and that is the story. I found it to be better. I thought the lead cast were even more likable than Joker and company, and yeah, I just can't help but have my ties to this entry. The story here, it's just a great concept. You know, we're moving to a new town and school where murders are occurring. We uncover a channel at midnight which broadcasts the victims, and now we realize we can enter this location. It's known as the TV world. Now we must get in there and save them, stop the killer, and face one of multiple different endings. You will really care about this cast though, and it just ups the stakes from the very opening moments of the game to lock you in, and you will not look back. It is a masterpiece of a game from a series that rarely misses, and my full review it is in the pinned comments. Let's be realistic here as well, it has problems, no question. Some great dungeons, for example, but basic in design. The procedural generation, it doesn't do a great job of masking where you need to go. The world is also small. I often, by the end game, feel like I'm kind of out of things I need to do and kind of power through that calendar. Visually as well, it's definitely showing its age. That said though, the combat, the exploration is still extremely rewarding, and with all of the secrets and different endings, this game, it just feels special. If Persona 5 Royal perfected that formula, for me, 4 was kind of the first time in the series it reached its full potential, and for me, it just definitely stuck with me. I played it originally on the Vita, then went back on Steam at release, and now on the Switch, and I've enjoyed it every single time. So that's my top 5, and no doubt you will find many of these characters in other games, often as DLC. Morgana, for example, is DLC in Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. Joker appears in Smash. We got Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle, which includes cast members from Persona 4 Arena. Great entry level fighter, that one, if you do want something for your library. Then we even got things like Persona 5 cast members showing up in Catherine as multiplayer characters. I'm sure there's going to be more as well out there. I know there was a Persona level for Sonic Forces as an example, which has since been removed. What is next though? And I would like to personally see Persona 1 and 2 re-releases, though I'm not sure we'll get them. Maybe Fallout rebuilds, never played them myself, would love to, just guessing probably the age maybe warrants that kind of Fallout treatment at this point. Then I do think more likely maybe next the rhythm games, Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight and Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight. These titles were on the Vita, PS4, so why not the Switch? And next, not a huge amount to them, but who doesn't love Persona music, so I'm sure they could do very well on the system. That's of course if there's no sort of exclusive deal to Sony with the release. One I would also love to see, or two in fact, Persona Q Shadow of the Labyrinth. This was a 3DS game that combined a Persona narrative and characters with old school first-person dungeon crawling. Got a sequel as well, the only one I played personally, and that was Q2 New Cinema Labyrinth. Let me know though what Persona game you would like to see on the system next. With that then though, remember to check out all of my reviews in the pinned comment and let me know which entry is your favourite right now on the Switch. I'm really curious to see with this one where everyone falls. With that then, like, hit subscribe, join us here for reviews and deals daily, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.